El doctor José Antonio Moreno.
Ey, ey, ey. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos todos. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos nuevamente. En unos minutos ya estamos dando inicio, así que le invitamos a los últimos que se están acomodando. Muchas gracias.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Soy Felicita Argaña, abogada por la Universidad Católica y máster en leyes por la Universidad London School of Economics. Transitamos, junto con el doctor José Antonio Moreno Rodríguez, quien es además mi tío, caminos profesionales y académicos. A su pedido, oficiaré de maestra de ceremonia para este lanzamiento de la que es a hoy su obra cumbre. Se trata del libro Private and Public International Law in Investment Arbitration, cuya imagen pueden ver en pantalla y que se encuentra disponible en la plataforma
which is available on the online platform of the editing company, to which you can access through the QR code that appears in the projection. This launch, which is being broadcasted live on the CEDEP channel on YouTube, happens within the framework of the external program of the Hague Academy in International Law, organization with more than 100 years, which is located in the Peace Palace in The Hague, likewise as the International Court of Justice and the Permanent Arbitration Tribunal in The Hague. Here we have distinguished authorities besides scholars, colleagues, family and friends. On behalf of the people who are going to be speaking today and in my name, to be brief, I want to greet warmly. Next, we're going to hear from the General Secretary of the Hague Academy, Jean-Marc Touvenat.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, Dean, colleagues, students, perhaps, former students, probably, international lawyers, I hope. I did not come with a Bible to swear anything before you. I did not come with a brick to put in a wall, even if the collected courses of the Hague Academy nowadays is looking like a green wall, if you have it completely in your office. I came with a course which will mark the history, probably, because it's a huge work done by our guest, José Moreno Rodriguez. It corresponds to what we call in the Academy a special course. So a special course, to give you the background, is made of 5 times 50 minutes of course. 5 times 50 minutes. And then we ask the professors to publish what they said. 5 times 50 minutes. Can you imagine that? It's a bit more, and it's probably representing what our guest wants to leave as a legacy to the history, among other things, probably. But it is true that the Hague Academy collected courses is showing you the history of international law, the current, the moving history, but also the past history. As just been said, the first item dates back from 1923. I like very much to read these books. This one dates from 2023. So you will, I hope, take a look at it. This is mine, but I will leave it there. And one of the important features, because I will not delve into the content, of course, one of the important features in this book is the photo. Oh, you smile, but I can tell you that the most prominent professors of their time have their picture in this book, and 50 years after, 60 years after, long after, people come to the Academy and say, can we borrow you the picture to illustrate the glorious scholarship of the prominent professors we want to celebrate? And I say, yes, of course. So I think that this picture enters into history, with other things, of course. And I'm very glad to have this marvelous moment as a side event of the week of the, as we say, external program of the Hague Academy of International, but that's not the topic of today. Thank you very much, dear friend, for, first of all, have given a course at the Academy, and I must say something, if I'm authorized. The course was given during the pandemic. It was a course online. And I think that that was something as difficult for someone invited to the Academy to give a course online. Because when you go to the Academy, this is a whole story. You go in the Peace Palace, you meet 350 students, you meet people coming from more than 100 countries, asking questions, interacting, and our guest accepted to give his course from here, online, not meeting anyone. And I always thought that it was a marvelous gift given to the Academy and to the participants to our courses. Thank you very much for all that. Thank you for your pages, more than 600 pages, a lot of things to read. And thank you for this invitation of today. Thank you to all.
Muchas gracias,
Thank you very much, Professor Tubena. Usually in these type of ceremonies, you read the resume of the author of the work presented. Today is going to be something different. We're going to project some images that gather landmarks of the academic and professional trajectory of Dr. Moreno Rodriguez. As we go forward with this presentation, we're going to see words by jurists with whom the author has interacted in different moments of his career. The presentation might have some minor errors or imprecisions due to a production that was just finalized a few minutes ago, in which case we're going to make the proper adjustments before uploading them to YouTube. Likewise, the presentation was a little longer than expected, but I guarantee that we tried to make as entertaining as possible. Please go ahead with the presentation.
El doctor José Antonio Moreno Rodríguez egresó con honores como abogado y es, además, doctor en Derecho con la máxima calificación de summa cum laude por la Universidad Nacional de Asunción. Así también, el doctor Moreno es máster en Derecho por la Universidad de Harvard. Su tesis de maestría, supervisada por Arthur von Meren, un ícono mundial del derecho, obtuvo la calificación de sobresaliente. Por varios años, el doctor Moreno viene interviniendo como abogado de parte o como árbitro en contiendas arbitrales. A continuación, van estas palabras del gran patriarca del arbitraje de la región, Roque Caivano.
La incorporación de la obra de José Moreno Rodríguez a las listas de publicaciones de la Academia de La Haya es un justo reconocimiento a la trayectoria de uno de los más grandes juristas de la región que ha hecho contribuciones sustanciales tanto a la doctrina como a la docencia
and the teaching of international private law and arbitration. Congratulations, José, very well deserved. Ignacio Jurado mention as follow.
I'm Ignacio Tirado, Secretary General of UNIDROIT. I'd just like to take a minute to congratulate José Moreno for his extraordinary achievement. José is a wonderful jurist, governing council member of UNIDROIT, and a person who can build bridges like no other. He's a very important member of our organization, and we are thrilled that he continues to achieve. All our best wishes from Rome, and hoping to see all of you very soon.
Dr. Moreno
is member of the Arbitration Court of the International Chamber of Commerce, an active arbiter in the mechanism. Yala Figueres, a member of the Chamber and ex-Commerce Minister of Costa Rica, shared with this. The recent publication of my friend and colleague José Antonio Moreno not only contributes to the literary and academic work, but also is timely and important. Congratulations, José. Moreover, Dr. Moreno is part of the governing council of the prestigious think tank, which is the Institute of the Chamber of Commerce on Global Commercial Law. Mr. Eduardo Silva Romero sent these words. In a time when we're still arguing the relationship between the treaty and the contract in investment arbitration, the monumental work by Professor Moreno arrives in a more than timely manner. Thank you to the good work of the International Academy of The Hague. This work of Professor Moreno gives us some clues, some reflections that will help us to progress in our understanding of this relationship that there is between two different legal works. Personally, José, many congratulations for this work, and thank you for helping us to try to understand these topics, complex topics of investment arbitration. Likewise, Dr. Moreno is member of the Permanent Tribunal of Arbitrations, such as the International Court of Justice, has a seat in the Peace Palace in The Hague, and is an active arbiter in this mechanism.
Dr. Moreno Rodriguez is a brilliant scholar and an accomplished practitioner. I have had the pleasure and the privilege of sitting with José Antonio on an arbitration tribunal and can attest to his deep knowledge and experience in the subject matter. His book on the application of private along with public international law in investment arbitration is as comprehensive as it is novel, and it will be a very useful guide to both academics and practitioners who want to enhance their knowledge in the field. Thank you very much.
Igualmente,
Likewise,
por varios años,
for many years, Dr. Moreno is part of CIADI Tribunals, global institution leader in conflict resolution matters that affect foreign investment. Likewise, Dr. Moreno is part of the the Hague Tribunal and active arbiter in this mechanism. Recently, Dr. Moreno has been included as member of the Arbitration Court of AmCham, Peru, together with very renowned international arbiters. Best regards the Academy for this publication on international private and public law on investment arbitration. Is an excellent compound that seeks the application of international law in arbitration of investment and the role of treaties and international law with plenty of reference in international cases. In particular, I would like to highlight the chapter on law applicable to investment arbitration, where we can see the very interesting argument of the role, corrective and complementary role of international law. I can only recommend this magnus opus that will constitute fundamental support for international law. Dr. Moreno is a member of the Governing Council of the prestigious organization UNIDROIT, created in 1926, and president of his group work on investment in agricultural lands, besides being presiding the Directive Council of UNIDROIT on the project of investment contracts, and also president of the project on foreign investment project. This project is carried by UNIDROIT with International Chamber of Commerce after an idea presented by Dr. Moreno to both organizations. Professor Joaquín Bonell, creator of many of the most successful instruments, has sent some written words that translated say this.
No solo por su más que valiosa producción científica, sino también por sus incansables actividades para promover instrumentos del derecho uniforme a lo largo del mundo, tales como, entre otros, los principios UNIDROIT del derecho contractual que, como lo sabe el profesor Moreno, son particularmente cercanos a mi corazón. Además, soy particularmente cercano a José por sus cualidades humanas. Para acortar una larga historia, puedes discutir con José las cuestiones más controversiales, pero cuando lo miras a la cara y lo ves con su sonrisa ganadora, no puedes sino concluir que es definitivamente una de las personas más agradables que jamás haya conocido. Alfonso Calvo Caravaca, miembro del Consejo de Gobierno de UNIDROIT y máxima figura del derecho internacional privado español,
star of private law in Spain, has sent these words. Hello, José Antonio. Congratulations on this book that you have just published, and congratulations to the readers, because José Antonio Moreno is one of the people that I have met in my long career that understand better the international regions, the international contracts, and international law. Congratulations, because he's a smart jurist and above all, very ethical. Dr. Moreno was until recently president of the Inter-American Juridic Committee of the OAS, the oldest and one of the most prestigious bodies in the Inter-American system. Was the first Paraguayan to access first the vice presidency and then the presidency of this prestigious committee. Professor David Stewart, former legal advisor of the State Department of the United States and colleague of Dr. Moreno in this colleague, has recorded this.
This is David Stewart from Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C., calling to congratulate you on the wonderful occasion of the launching of your volume for the Hague Academy on international law and investment arbitration. It is a most impressive work, as we learned during your visit here at the Law Center some months ago. Without doubt, the volume will be received with equal enthusiasm and appreciation by practitioners and academics around the world. I regret not being able to attend this celebration in person, but you have my admiration for this impressive achievement. I send you my very best wishes. Congratulations.
En sus 8
In
años
his
de
8
miembro del
years as a
Comité
member
Técnico,
of the
el Dr.
Judiciary
Moreno
Committee,
tuvo distintas
Dr. Moreno
reuniones,
had
entre
different
las que resaltan
rapportships,
las guías de la OEA sobre
the
contratos
guidelines on
comerciales
OAS,
internacionales
on
y sobre
international commercial
arbitrajes de
contracts
inversiones.
and investment
Textos
arbitration,
aplaudidos en
texts that have been
prestigiosos
claimed
círculos
in prestigious
académicos y
professional
profesionales,
academic
del cual
circles,
surgió
and
también
works
la
from which
inspiración
the
para
inspiration
propuestas de
came
reformas
for
normativas en diversos
regulatory
países.
reform in
La
different
guía de
countries.
contratos internacionales
The
incluso
International
llegó a
Contract
tener
Guide
influencia
even
en
had
África.
influence in
Según cuenta
Africa,
el profesor de
according
Petersburgo,
to
Jan
Jan
Niels,
Niels,
un correo de
who sent a
felicitaciones
congratulating
enviando esta
email
ilustración
with
para
this illustration
testimoniar la
to show
influencia
the
del trabajo del
influence
Dr.
of
Moreno
Dr.
para las
Moreno's work
Américas,
for the
inclusive en
Americas,
África.
even in Africa.
Desde Egipto, el
From
renombrado
Egypt,
académico
the
Mohamed
renowned
Ismail, miembro del Consejo de
academic
Estado y
Mohammed
juez de la Corte
Ismail,
Suprema
Supreme
Administrativa de Egipto,
Court
envió estas
Judge
palabras de
in Egypt,
felicitaciones.
sent these
Private
congratulating
and
words.
public international law and in investment arbitration is a leading monograph in the international sphere as it introduces various themes relating to both private and public international law and investment arbitration. Further, the monograph explores the interplay between both private and public international law and investment arbitration. José's contribution to the UNIDROIT Governing Council and to the UNIDROIT working groups is a remarkable contribution through decades. He's a value added to the international academia and practice.
El director del
The
Departamento de
director
Derecho
of the
Internacional
Department
de
of
la OEA,
International Law of the
Dr. Dante
OAS,
Negro,
Dr.
ha
Dante
enviado
Negro,
estas palabras.
has sent these words. I want to send a very effusive greeting to my dear friend and colleague Jose Moreno Rodriguez on this day of the launch of this publication on international private and public law applied to international arbitration. Dear Jose, many congratulations for this dignified event that highlights the qualities you have as a researcher, as an academic, as a practitioner in this area, and for all the contributions that you have done to international law. From a very particular point, I have witnessed the efforts of the work that you have done as member of the Inter-American Juridic Body, as a president, in two main contributions related to applicable law in foreign investment and the guideline on international contracting. Thank you so much for contributing to international law. Congratulations once again for this landmark in your professional career and many success for the future. Dr. Moreno was one of the 15 world experts on the Hague principles applicable to international contracts. Marta Pertegas, who was leading the Secretary of the Hague Conference within the group work group for the redaction of these principles, says as follows. Hello, dear Jose. Please let me join all the colleagues who are congratulating you on the launch of your publication on Raquel de Cour of the International Law Academy of The Hague. It's a great achievement, and I'm very happy for you. I hope that you can enjoy this together with your colleagues and friends, and also that I hope that we can meet again soon here in The Hague. Big hug. Soon. In Paraguay, Paraguay was the first country in the world to adopt the Hague principles, and the international contract law drafted by Dr. Moreno is considered one of the most modern in the world. Likewise, Dr. Moreno represented Paraguay in the diplomatic conference in which these principles were approved. He had the high privilege to preside successly the work group with representatives of the United States, China, the European Union, and other countries about the most delicate topic in the meeting, about the non-state law. Hans van Loon, who was secretary of the Hague Conference for over 20 years and one of the champions of his success in this, sent this video.
Dear Jose, first of all, congratulations for the launch of your seminal book, which I'm very much looking forward to read soon. I remember our first encounter, I think it was in January 2010, within the working group on choice of law of the Hague conference. Who would have thought that 5 years later we would have a full-fledged instrument that has even been implemented in various legislations such as yours in Paraguay, and that we would launch another book in 2021 with more than 60 reports of various jurisdictions and regions. This was possible only due to your constant support. I remember very well when you played a crucial role in the special commission, I think it was in November 2022 in The Hague, where you helped to organize a breakthrough regarding Article 3 of the principles. So you were and have been a very important person in my life, and I hope that this will continue. And you have become a true friend. Thank you very much for this.
El Dr. Moreno integra un prestigioso proyecto de contratos
is a member of a very important project on international contract with official Swiss support, led by Daniel Ginsberg, who has motivated meetings in this meeting, a publication on Oxford University Press, and a project on the way to what's going to be the most important database worldwide on international contracts. Likewise, Dr. Moreno was delegated before the United Nations Committee for International Commercial Law, known as UNCITRAL, where the reforms were approved for the model law on arbitration and has contributed to the modernization of commercial law in Paraguay based on the work on UNCITRAL, so much so that Paraguay is considered a model in Latin America on this issue. Luca Castellani sent this video for today.
Moreno is a champion of uniform commercial law in his native Paraguay, in the Americas and in the world. I am very glad to welcome this new publication that will soon become a reference work in its field and marks a high point of his academic efforts.
Bajo la coordinación del Dr. Moreno,
in Asunción, there was an important meeting on the prestigious Consultative Council of UNCITRAL, the president, and the Spanish representative to UNCITRAL, Professor Pilar Perales, has written the prologue of Dr. Moreno, published in Spain. Professor Perales has sent this video. Dear Jose, congratulations on this brilliant trajectory. Thank you for innovative ideas, your good work on UNCITRAL, and for guiding so many students. But above all, congratulations, because in you we find difficult traces, humble humility, gentleness, and friendship. In the prologue of a work published in Spain by Dr. Moreno, Professor Perales wrote that he has the perfect mix of experience of somebody who is a lawyer and an arbiter, an important intellectual baggage for a researcher, and the experience of somebody who takes a key role in several instruments applicable in arbitration. This almost impossible combination that happens in the author, which Professor Perales mentioned, is key for practical and theoretical practice. Moreover, Dr. Moreno was president of the prestigious Paraguayan Institute on Banking Law. Dr. Moreno was several times a lead of the IDB and World Bank in reform in banking and capitals market, highlighting the last work in real estate warranty, which made Paraguay to adopt the Cape Town Agreement and the reform of the national system in this topic. In the academic area, after more than 30 years of career, Dr. Moreno was president of the Centennial Course on International Law in the Hague Academy, besides being president of Heidelberg, Paris II, MIT seats, Geneva, and University of Buenos Aires, among other universities in Paraguay, as a professor. In Paraguay, he started teaching in 1991 by the renowned and remembered internationalist from Paraguay, Ramón Silva Alonso, reaching the chair at the National University and also for the doctorate, as well as in the National and the Catholic University. Also, his work as dean in the American University. He has lectured in different countries of the Americas, from Canada to Argentina, as well as different countries in Europe and Asia. He was very active in memorable meetings, such as the court in France, with the presence of the presidents and two former presidents in France. His presentation is quoted in the most renowned treaty on comparative law by René David. Also, Dr. Moreno had an important role in the Great Meeting on International Law in Wuhan, China, in 2017, and has authored as well a contribution published in this country. Dr. Moreno was also a lecturer in the encounter to celebrate the 125 years of the Hague Conference in Hong Kong, and also in the Comparative Law Academy in Fukuoka, Japan, where Dr. Moreno presented a general report together with Columbia University Alejandro Garro professor, which derived into an important publication. Professor Garro sent a recording with these words.
Buenos días.
Good afternoon, whoever is listening to us. It is a pleasure, great pleasure for me to be able to take part, albeit online, on this meeting on March 18th. For a dear colleague who is José Moreno, to whom I give my warmest regards after working in this OAS guide on international contracts, plus the work and the guide with the Inter-American Juridic Committee related to investment arbitration. I see with great joy that this volume 429 of Recueil de Coeur will also have your imprint in an interesting task such as the challenge, multidisciplinary challenge that presented by investment arbitration and the need to join public and private law.
My congratulations to you, Jose. I'm very happy to know that you are this limited, now part of a very limited group of prestigious juries, and very few from Latin America, which actually have qualified to really give a general course on these courses on the Hague Conference on Private International Law. So my congratulations to you, and I'm sure you're going to be surrounded by the warmth and the appreciation for your many contributions, which I hope, of course, that would be continue throughout the years. Thank you very much. Un gran abrazo.
Así también, en
Likewise, in 2019, Dr. Moreno was part of in a great meeting that gathered over 5,000 professionals in St. Petersburg. Dr. Moreno authored more than 100 works on commercial arbitration and investment, contracts, financial law, and other topics published in the Americas, Europe, and Asia. His first book was presented in 1992 and so far has several re-editions and a wide edition of over 1,000 pages, with a prologue by the prestigious jurist Julio César Rivera. Among his most recent publications, we have a book on international contracts published by Oxford University Press in England. His book on applicable law and international arbitration has been published in different different countries such as Spain, Peru, Colombia, and Paraguay, and Brazil in a Portuguese version. Dr. Moreno is the president of the Center for Studies of Law, Economics, and Politics, CEDEP, organization which has faced programs joined with universities of great prestige, besides managing the Paraguayan chapter of the International Chamber of Commerce and hosting the several organizations on comparative and international law. CEDEP takes active part in reforms of great impact, among them the Paraguayan law regulation. For several reasons, is supporting students for international projection. One of the great Spanish reference on commercial law in UCITRAL, UNIDROIT, linked several years in CEDEP and facing programs jointly with this organization, has sent these words for today. Jose, many congratulations. Great acknowledgement and another success of many that you have in this field of uniform law on international arbitration. It's a real pleasure to know your contributions and the presentation in particular of this important work. I'm very happy and congratulate you, and as you well know, we're going to keep working together, we're going to keep collaborating. It is a pleasure to work with you from your work in CEDEP, your participation in plenty of institutions linked with international arbitration, from your great work in UNIDROIT and so many other institutions. Many congratulations, Jose. With the support of CEDEP, for many years, Dr. Moreno is working as the main trainer of the team of the Faculty of Law at the National University in Asunción in the arbitration competition organized by different universities. And from the foreign direct investment arbitration, students who have experienced this experience have later been admitted to prestigious grad schools and work in renowned law firms locally and internationally, and also rapporteurships of the Supreme Court and chambers of appeals, and participation in the arbitration team of the national government. We, together with Professor Diego Fernández Arroyo, Dr. Moreno has a strong academic bond for over 20 years, from which several publications were derived and many collaborations. In this photo, we can see them in an activity in Hong Kong, together with Yuko.
Dear Jose, distinguished members of the Curatorium of the Hague Academy, Secretary General, dear participants. Hello and warm welcome to everybody. My name is Yuko Nishitani, Vice President and currently Acting President of the Hague Academy. Thank you so much, Jose, for hosting the Hague Academy External Program in Paraguay. Big congratulations on the publication of your Hague Lecture, Private and Public International Law in Investment Arbitration in 2023. It is a wonderful, comprehensive work that discusses the history, philosophy, and developments of the legal protection of foreign investments. It nicely bridges private and public international law by tracing their basic ideas and general principles that are transposed to international arbitration. I am so happy for your great achievement, and thank you for enriching the Hague Academy collected courses. Jose and I have also worked together at the HCCH for the Hague Principles project. It was so nice to have Jose in our group, always smiling, enthusiastic, and giving positive and encouraging comments. I truly value our friendship and sincerely thank you for all your contribution to the Hague Academy. All the best to you and have great fun in the external program. Thank you.
En nombre de la Asociación Americana de Derecho Internacional
American
Privado,
Association of
ASADIP,
International Private Law, and on my behalf, I want to congratulate Professor José Antonio Moreno Rodriguez for this great course on a topic that is so current and transcendental for Latin American countries. ASADIP and José are linked since the founding of our association in the city of Asunción in October of 2007, and CEDEP, from our start, has always been our partner and ally in each academic activity that we have started, generating multiple synergies, thinking of the challenges of our region, so much so that it is a great satisfaction to accompany him today on this special day from the afar, our former president of ASADIP and our friend. Congratulations, Jose, for this work, and many congratulations of this presentation in the framework of the external course of the Hague Academy. It is an honor and a great joy to share with you this moment. As an example of this fruitful academic collaboration for many years, Professor Fernandez Arroyo and Moreno were able to kickstart the American Association of International Private Law, ASADIP, which both presided at a different time. ASADIP has an important voice in terms of international private law representing the Americas. ASADIP was managed with the support of Tatiana Meikert and Didier Operti, Professor Opert, former officer of OAS, and Chancellor of Uruguay, is present today with these words. For me, it is a very significant action for personally, intellectually, and ethical to be present in this ceremony, to see that one of those who early arrived to the positions that today are highlighted in the academic world, in the practice of arbitration and other matters regarding international private law, as José Antonio is, clearly deserves a recognition. Moreover, more than in a personal name, which on behalf of what this new international private law Latin American school pretends to be. After 2009, after a memorable conference with more than 1,300 participants and 17 speakers from the region, with Professor Fernandez Arroyo, Dr. Moreno directed the prestigious Latin American Conference on Arbitration, CLA, organized annually in different cities in the Americas, and building the main annual forum of this type where the different arbitration mechanisms interact. Another successful experience has been the organization in 2022 of the General Congress of the International Academy of Comparative Law, the maximum global forum, interdisciplinary global forum, that takes place every 4 years for almost 100 years. And for the first time, it took place in the Southern Hemisphere in this occasion. As a cherry on top, as a member of the curatorium on the Hague Academy of International Law, Professor Fernandez Arroyo gave his key backing for this course to take place in Asunción during this week, a true historical event for the country and the region. Dr. Moreno, as he is mainly a legal practitioner, a law firm leading in international arbitration in Paraguay, with an important national and international portfolio in terms of services, import and export, finances, industry, telecommunications, energy, agribusiness, ports, and other areas. For today's publication, he obtained the help of several members of Aldra Legal who have an inclination for the academic work.
Seguidamente escucharemos las
We're gonna
palabras
hear
del
from
doctor Diego
Dr. Diego
Fernández
Fernández Arroyo,
profesor de la Universidad
professor of the Political Science University of Paris, a member of the Hague Academy Curatorium on International Law.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Quiero ante todo saludar
Before all, I
las
want to
autoridades,
greet all the authorities, who,
pero
many of whom are present,
el ministro de Justicia,
amongst them the Ministry for Justice,
personalidades relevantes del
and
mundo
personalities
de la justicia,
from the world of
magistrados,
justice, magistrates,
de la abogacía,
of jurists, professors.
Quiero saludar también
I want to
muy,
greet very warmly,
especialmente
very especially,
los asistentes
to the
del
attendees
programa externo
from the external program of the Hague Academy on International Law here in Paraguay.
esos asistentes, es decir, la academia
Those
en
attendees,
general,
the academy in general,
como es el caso de todas las
as is the case of
universidades,
all
todos los centros
universities,
educativos,
of
no existen
educational
sino
institutions,
por
they don't exist
esa gente, por sus destinatarios.
except for those
Y
attendees, for the
este año,
receivers.
gracias a la
This
selección
year, thanks to the selection
magistral hecha por el secretario general,
done by the
Professor
Secretary
Tuvenot,
General,
el
Professor
nivel
Tuvenot, the level
de este programa
of
externo
this
es
external program
particularmente
is
elevado.
particularly high.
Son todos alumnos de
Everybody, all the students are from different countries in South America,
sudamericano,
and as a
emocionado,
South
orgullo,
American, I'm
poder
full of
dar
pride
clase,
to be able to teach and share
temas de derecho internacional
international law
con,
topics
un
with
grupo de estudiantes de tan
a
alto
group of
nivel.
students of such a high level.
Obviamente,
Also,
a mis
kind
colegas
regards to my
que
colleagues
están como profesores en este
who
curso,
are
y a
as
todos
professors on this course,
los presentes,
and everybody
entre los
here
que hay
present. Amongst
algunos
them,
amigos
I have some dear
de
friends
vieja data.
of many years.
Después del video
After
y
the
con
video,
todas las
and
personas
with all the
importantes
important
que
people
hablaron, salvo al
who
final que metieron
discussed,
ahí
they
a
put me,
uno que pasaba
except
por
for the
ahí,
last one that
sin
was just
pedirle
passing
permiso,
by
dicho sea
without
de
any permission.
Es difícil,
It's hard
decir algo
to
más,
say something else,
porque
to
todas
add,
las personas que conocen muy bien
because people who
a
know very
nuestro
well
homenajeado el día de
our
hoy, dijeron
guests today have
prácticamente lo
said
mismo que yo
pretty
podía
much the
decir.
same thing that I
Tal
could
vez,
say. Maybe
yo conozco más a José
I
que
know
muchos de
better
los que
José
estuvieron ahí.
than many of the
Eso
people who
tal vez podría
talked.
darme
That
un título
might give me an
añadido
edge,
para
an
decir
added
cosas, pero bueno,
degree to say
eso me
something,
permitirá,
but that will allow
para
me
beneplácito de la concurrencia,
for
ser más breve,
to be brief,
porque voy a quitar algunas de las
because
cosas
I'm
que
going
pensaba
to
mencionar y que
remove
ya
some
fueron
of the
mencionadas.
things that I was thinking
Lo
about mentioning
primero
but were already
en este
mentioned.
homenaje
The
es,
first thing in this homage
agradecer
is to
a
thank
José la
José
confianza para
his
hacer uso de la
trust
palabra ante tan
to
distinguida
let me speak
concurrencia,
before all of you,
para presentar un
to
libro suyo.
present his book.
Debo decir que no es la
I must
primera
say
vez,
that is not the first
y
time.
esto tiene cierta
This
importancia,
is important,
voy a volver sobre
and I'm
eso.
going to go back on this soon.
Yo voy a hablar
I'm going to speak
brevemente
briefly,
y espero no ser
and hopefully I won't
como
be
aquel conocido
as
señor llamado Fidel
that
Castro que siempre empezaba
renowned
diciendo, "Voy a
person,
ser breve", y hablaba 7
Fidel
horas.
Castro, who will start saying, I'm going to be brief and then speak for 7 hours.
Voy a hablar de
I'm going to
de la
speak
obra
about
brevemente y de la
his
persona.
work and about the person.
La obra tal
The
vez,
work,
ya lo dijeron,
maybe,
no sé si
as
lo dijo
many people
muy
have said it,
elocuentemente
and very
el profesor
eloquently,
Tuvenot,
Professor Tuvenot,
se presenta sola.
it's self-introduced.
Quien escribe
Who
en la colección
writes
más
in the most
importante
important
del mundo
collection
internacional,
in the world on
700
international law,
páginas,
700
un tema
pages
actual,
about a
complicado,
current,
con
complex
gran sabiduría,
topic
casi
with great
no
knowledge.
habría más que decir.
There is nothing else to say.
Si puedo
If
pasar una
I
anécdota,
may
José
share an
cuando
anecdote,
estaba escribiendo, me
Jose,
dice,
when he was writing, he tells me, he asks me,
¿cuánto tengo que escribir?
how much should I write?
páginas
How many
puedo?
pages should I write?
Y yo le dije,
And I
bueno,
told him, I don't.
yo te diría,
I would
lo
say
que quieras,
write as
mínimo
much as you want, but at least 200,
máximo 350.
max 350.
Y entonces él se quedó
And
con
then
350,
he stayed with
de los
350
200, tomó solamente el 2
of
y lo
those
multiplicó, entonces
two,
escribió,
only took the 2 and multiplied by
700.
2, so he wrote 700,
que es inusual,
which is unusual,
totalmente inusual para
completely
un curso,
unusual for a course
de La Haya,
at the Hague Academy, but when you see the content, you realize why, because it's a course where which includes everything that can be said nowadays in matters on substantive law applicable to investment arbitration, which is a work, even if it's not called, is substantive law applicable to investment arbitration. I go back to what I was saying. It's not the first time that I'm invited to present a book by Dr. Moreno, because this relates a lot to the quality of the author and the work. I was invited another time. He wasn't here. It was at the Catholic University in the city center. And at that time, the book that we presented by Dr. Moreno was two theses on contracts. And that book, Two Theses on Contracts, which is a formidable work, is a book on comparative private law, where, in a very admirable manner, and which I have rarely seen presented so completely, we analyze perfectly contracts and essential elements of the contract, in particular, theory of cause, considerations from the perspective of the Germanic Roman law and common law perspective, as very few comparative professionals can do. This is very interesting because the book, the brick that Professor Tuveno was mentioning, is a book where international public and private law are developed in terms of applied law or applicable law. The same author that a few years ago, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, because otherwise you're going to call me old, a few years ago was publishing comparative private law from the state point of view, taking as reference the different legal systems in the world, is also capable, a few years later, to analyze with the same depth, the same quality in the authorship, all the possible aspects of international law, both public and private. There are very few people capable of performing this, and I'm very proud of presenting this in front of you. The course in itself, that you're going to need some time to read, touches on, as I said, all the possible topics, and very well developed on applicable law, on investment arbitration. It has a historical part where it summarizes very well the history, where we even present the first reaction, Latin American reaction, very well documented, before what the first sunrise on international arbitration was in our region, with a particular reference to Carlos Calvo, we were discussing today in class. If the students who were here in the class, students is the same, many are colleagues, people who were today in the external program course, you want to go deeper, you just have to read this book if you have time. Then we have a whole vision, not often seen, so well explained, on the approximation on the public international law, where above all, we have a development that I recommend on the general principles on law from the perspective of international public law and Article 38 of the International Court of Justice. And only after that, we go to what Jose, using soccer language, he kicks it so sweetly, which is the development of private international law with historical analysis as well, the search for the uniformity or harmonization in matters of applicable law by international private law in order to reach finally a vision and a proposal that is necessary to be considered of all international law to regulate investment arbitration in matters of applicable law. Those of us who are in the practice of arbitration, and particularly investment arbitration, and there are a few of us in the room, we know how real this mixture is between international public and private law. The colleagues on public international law are a little lazier in diving into private international law matters for different reasons. I think it's because we still think that international private law is something difficult, strange, esoteric, as it used to be in other times. It is not so anymore, thanks to works like this and many others. And I'm saying this modestly from the perspective of being Argentinian. Being modest, this is hard for me. From international private law, it's not so hard to see the importance of international public law, because when we discuss international matters, we necessarily have to see the laws on treaties that is mentioned here, consuetudinary law, which is very well explained in this book, and you have that need to feed yourself from going deeper into international public law. Curiously, from the other perspective, that need is not felt, but it's real. It's exactly or even more necessary when we face cases, concrete cases, where we have several private elements, and many of the cases that reach protected by a treaty to arbitration stages today are really based in contracts, and there is a permanent interaction, as is well explained here, between the contract and the treaty, as Eduardo Silvia Romera was saying it in his intervention. Even more interesting, and with this I close my reference to the work, but I could really discuss this longer. Even more interesting, the book is a book on perspective about the future. If you follow the whole video, at a certain time it is mentioned that currently UNIDROIT, the Institution for the Unification of Private Law, and CCI, which is the most important institution in the world in matters of international contracts and arbitration, international arbitration, are working together based on a proposal made by Professor Moreno to develop an instrument in matters of international investment contracts. And this is possible. If Jose has proposed this, he's seeing this, I'm not so sure, but it's possible that the criticism done to the investment law has centered mainly in the treaties will end up giving us a result that more and more, and this is happening already, more and more international investments are going to be channeled through contracts. You're saying like, oh, this is what Brazil has done all their lives. Yeah, it's that. Probably that Brazilian model is a model that we're going to see in the future in the regulation of investment. In that moment, that is already happening, the importance of private aspects of the applicable law regulation is going to be even more important. So this work, which is a scholar work of great level, but also the other works that Professor Moreno does as an international jurist with the guideline of contracts of the OAS or the regulatory guide on UNIDROIT on agricultural contracts, is work with a perspective to the future that has, among others, the virtue of bridging, building this bridge, which is not only an academic bridge, it's a bridge to solve matters between the public part and the private part of the regulation. It's not just autonomy of will and public order, which is also in the book, which Dr. Moreno knows very well, but goes a little beyond on how these issues are regulated from a commercial perspective without leaving on the side matters regarding the foundations of public policy, how we achieve this balance between the two matters. About the person, about the author, many people have spoken a lot. I just want to insist in the fact that a person who comes from civil law, when I met Professor Moreno, many you know better than me, amongst them his father who's here, he was a young person who worked a lot with civil law, very interested in international matters. And instead of remaining in his comfort zone, which is civil law, he knows that perfectly, as the Spanish would say, the top, creme of the creme. He preferred, without forgetting that civil law baggage, he preferred to rebuild himself and join international law with a work that with a lot of effort, thousands of hours of study, of dedication, of a lot of theory, but also a lot of practice, in order to know well the practice in international bodies, as a lawyer, as an arbiter. This has allowed him to become what he is today, a reference, as somebody mentioned in the video, a reference in our region, but also in the world. I wish him a lot of more success, as several have said. He deserves it. I wish him that for the region and the institutions to which he belongs, particularly in the two of them that we have worked together in Asadib and Akla, for the success to continue, because that's going to make me look good as well. And I hope that he continues on this way. He continues on this path because it's good for everybody. These ideas, this enthusiasm, this capability of organization that is unique in the world. Although possible, now that he's a grandpa, he's going to have to stay in Asunción a little more, fewer trips to Rome, The Hague, Japan, and stay here changing diapers of his grandson. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jose, for this opportunity.
Muchas gracias, Profesor Fernández Arroyo.
Professor Fernández Arroyo. Finally, we're going to hear from the author, Dr. José Antonio Moreno Rodríguez. I am the one who comes between you and the toast and the snacks, the hors d'oeuvre that are outside. I'm going to be very brief. Many years ago, I was invited to give a talk at the Lucerne University in February. The talk was for September, And I told them I was not able to because it overlapped with an event, and I let them know what it was. And they answered, Professor, we're inviting you for September of next year. Something that was a surprise for a Latin American man as myself. For the course of the Hague Academy, I was invited in 2015 to the course that I was supposed to give in 2020. Finally, with the pandemic, the course I taught it online in 2021. Back then, there was 6 years of preparation for that course. Those invitations are done so that the presenter comes prepared. So there were 6 years of plenty of preparation. Maybe the enthusiasm I put into this, made me have so many notes, and that finally it was so difficult to compress those notes to the volume that it was suggested by my dear friend Diego, and I ended up with a volume with that length that was mentioned here. Also, it was another issue, the selection of what the title of my book would be. After a lot of to and fro, I proposed 8 titles. It was approved in a novelty topic for investment law, which is how private international law has or should have a greater role than it is often thought or believed. For me, it was something that fit into the conception I have on law. I'm convinced that law as we know it today throughout the world comes from that trunk of matrimonial Roman law, which has remained without change throughout centuries, and nowadays supports many of the branches of law, among them public international law, which is analyzed in this work, how it was created and evolved using Roman law and theoretical developments built around that juridical Roman technique, which was impregnated of the Hellenic philosophy, and particularly the work of Aristotle and the conception of justice. Finally, as I said, the course was presented in 2021 online, but I continue working until finally, towards March of 2023, I delivered the final draft to the Academy. It was more than 7 years of work, a lot of research. I have had a team, a marvelous team that has supported me in all this work. I also use previous works, particularly a book on applicable law and arbitration that was referenced here. And truly, I only have, after so much work and so much effort, reached a moment of thanks. First of all, to Diego Fernández Arroyo for his wisdom, his generosity, which is unlimited, and his friendship. To the Hague Academy, on Professor Tuvenan, to who sent the very beautiful words today, to my great teachers who are not with us anymore and those who are still with us, to everybody who took part in this book. Agata Brandão de Oliveira in Lucerne, who had a key role throughout several years. Eleanor Dennis, who was the McGill University assistant, who supported me a lot. Clark Rice, also from Canada. And among them, my son, Keiko, José Antonio, who's here, helping in a more important way throughout the years. And the amazing team of my nuestra office, Luisa Casal, Luis Serrano, Felicita Argaña, Belén Moreno, Regina, Gaby Melgarejo, Ruth Schneiderman. I want to mention them all. And even Ramiro, my son Ramiro, arrived towards the end to give support in his first practices with all. Likewise, Antonella Salgueiro, Rafael Silva, and Gabriela Prado, who was attending the doctorate in the Sorbonne University. I also want to thank several authors who read the draft. And I want to thank very particularly those who, all these years of work for the book, were very close to my heart. Especially somebody who is joining us in spirit, and a few days ago sent us as a present to my first granddaughter, who's going to be named after her, Eloisa. Thank you all for your presence and your support. Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance. I remind you that you can access the book by using the QR code that appears on the projection. Other books by Dr. Moreno Rodriguez are also available in the main room, among them a recent one on commercial and investment arbitration. The author will toast you and thank you personally your attendance in this room, and gladly will welcome you in his office to autograph his books. Thank you once again, and you're cordially invited to the cocktail toast offered in the foyer of the Institute.
Gracias.